All right, we're going to read a little bit longer book than what we usually read. And today's book is called Library Mouse, A Friend's Tale. A tale is like a story, and it's by Daniel Kirk. I kind of like this title page here. It's kind of cool. Library Mouse, A Friend's Tale. See the mouse here? And by Daniel Kirk. See that? Isn't that kind of cool? The mouse just laying on the books. I wonder what the mouse is going to do. Sam was a library mouse. He lived in a little hole in the wall behind the children's reference books. Sam loved to read and he loved to write too. Everyone loved his little books. But Sam was very shy, and no one at the library had ever met him. Once a week, the children at the library met for Writers and Illustrators Club. Remember, the illustrator is the person who makes the pictures for the books. For our next project, said Mrs. Forrester, the librarian, I would like all the boys and girls to work with a partner. One of you will be the author, and the other one will be the illustrator. You can find out how teamwork can create a book. At the end of the meeting, there was one child left standing all by himself. Don't worry, Tom, said Mrs. Forrester. I'd be happy to work with you. Remember, the author is the person who writes the story, and the illustrator is the person who draws the pictures. Look at this cool picture here. When night came, Sam the librarian mouse went to do some research for a story he was planning to write. All night long, he studied and jotted down things in his notebook. But as the sun rose, his eyelids grew heavy and he fell asleep. Squeak! Sam woke with a start as the children filed into the room. In his hurry to escape, he left his little notebook behind. Tom discovered it on the librarian's desk, carefully opened the cover, and turned the pages. Then he went to tug at Mrs. Forrester's sleeve. What's this? Said the librarian, flipping through the notebook. From the titles of the stories in here, I would guess this belongs to Sam, our mysterious author. He's written so many books, and yet we've never had the pleasure of meeting him. Let's put it back on your desk, said Tom, so Sam will find it. That night, Sam climbed onto the librarian's desk to look for his notebook. As he hurried back across the desk with his prize in his arms, the mouse stepped across the ink pad and left behind a trail of footprints. Good morning, Mrs. Forrester said to Tom when he arrived early the next day. Did you bring some ideas for the story we can work on together? Not yet, said Tom. Then he noticed the tiny ink marks on the librarian's desk and saw that Sam's notebook was gone. Impossible, he thought. When he was sure no one else was looking, Tom got down on his hands and knees. He peered beneath the library shelves and around the baseboards, not quite certain what he was looking for. Suddenly, he saw a little hole in the wall. Now he knew why Sam always seemed to write about mice. Tom tore a piece of cheese from his snack he had brought, and he left it in the opening. "Oh, no!" Sam cried when he stepped out of his hole that night and saw the cheese. "Who could have left it?" he wondered. "What do they want?" Sam thought it might be best to leave the cheese alone and pretend that he never saw it. The next time Tom came to the library, he found the cheese looking dry and lonely, just where he had left it. He replaced it with a peanut butter cracker. Maybe Sam will like this better, he thought. Indeed, when Sam awoke and smelled the cracker, it was all he could do was gobble it up. Clearly, someone had discovered his hole. Sam hoped that if he ignored the food, whoever it was would go away and forget about him. But Tom did not forget about Sam. He thought about writing a letter to the library mouse, but he wasn't so sure what to say. Then he got an idea. It was called The Shy One, and this is how it began. Once upon a time, there was someone who was very shy. His name was Sam. People seemed to make him nervous. The children at the library knew what Sam was like because of all the books he had written. But nobody really knew who Sam was, and that seemed to suit him just fine until one day. When he was finished writing, Tom folded up the paper and left it just outside the hole in the wall. That night, Sam read the story from the beginning to the end. Tom had discovered the one thing Sam could not resist: a story. Sam grinned. He remembered Tom as a regular at the library. "I've got an idea," he said to himself. Then he went into his hole and got to work. When Tom arrived later that week for Writers and Illustrators Club, he felt a little guilty. He'd been busy thinking about Sam that he'd forgotten all about his assignment. He got down on his hands and knees to look beneath the reference books. The paper he had left there was gone. Then he heard the librarian's voice. "Tom, what's this? I found it on my desk. I thought you'd decided not to work on a book this week. And then I found The Shy One, written by you and illustrated by Sam. I can't wait to share it with the group." Oh, no, thought Tom. The story he had written had been meant for Sam to see. What if Sam had drawn a boy and a mouse? If Mrs. Forster read it out loud, everyone would find out who Sam really was. And then what? Someone might try to hurt him or chase him. "Please don't read the story, Mrs. Forster," Tom pleaded. "You should be proud of your work," the librarian said kindly, "and how wonderful that you did a book together. I can't wait to hear about who Sam really is." When everyone was seated, Mrs. Forster held up the little book and began to read. Once upon a time, there was someone who was very shy. His name was Sam. People seemed to make him nervous. The children at the library knew what Sam was like because of the books he had wrote. But nobody really knew who Sam was, and that seemed to suit him just fine. Until one day when someone discovered Sam's secret. It was a good thing. He only wanted to be Sam's friend. "Come on," Sam said to Tom. "Let's do it together." And they did. Mrs. Forster read the story from beginning to end. And Tom was amazed to see the pictures that Sam had drawn. The illustration showed 2 mice instead of 1, and one of them was named Tom. "So tell us, Mrs. Forrester," said Mrs. Forrester, "just who is this Sam who writes so many books? I just have to ask you." "Oh no," said Tom, with a shy grin. "I just wrote this story. Sam is real, but he likes his privacy. So that's all I'm going to say. A friend knows how to keep a secret." When the library was ready to close and Tom was sure no one was watching, he bent to place something on the floor beneath the children's reference books. Sam awoke that night to find a note outside his hole. "Thanks, partner. Great work. Your friend, Tom." Sam sat down at his desk. He had an idea for his own story about friends. He couldn't wait for Tom to read it. And maybe this time his new friends would draw the pictures. And that's the end of our story today. Boys and girls, it's sometimes fun to write a story with someone else. Maybe you can get with your brother or sister, mom or dad, or grandpa or grandma, and you could write a story. Choose who you want in it. Those are called characters, the people are in it. So in our story, it was librarian who was in it. There was Tom in there. There was Sam the mouse. All of those are called characters. So choose who you want to write the story about. Then choose what are they going to do. So in this story, they ended up writing a story together. So choose what they're going to do and then start writing. Write a few sentences, color some pictures, be the illustrator for a book. Or maybe have someone else do the story writing and you do the pictures. It's always fun to explore those things and to write. We'll see you next time. Bye.